triangle law of vectors. Here, whenever the two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, in order to find the resultant of those two vectors, how we can use the parallelogram law of vector addition we have seen. And we derived the formula for magnitude of the resultant of two vectors and direction of the resultant of two vectors also. Okay, magnitude of resultant of two vectors capital R is equal to square root of p square plus q square plus 2pq cos theta we got. Okay, and direction of the resultant vector means if the resultant vector makes an angle alpha with p bar, then tan alpha is equal to q sin theta by p plus q cos theta we got. Okay, that is the direction of the resultant. Because if you know alpha, then we can say the resultant vector lies along this direction by making some angle with the given vector p bar. Means direction is known. No? That's why we derived the formula for alpha also. Okay, and different cases in parallelogram law of vector addition we discussed. Next, triangle law is also already I said triangle law is almost the same as that of the parallelogram law of vector addition. So triangle law, just I will recollect them here. Suppose there are two vectors. There are two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously. Here, this is p bar, it is a q bar. The angle between these two vectors is a theta. Then, whenever the two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously at O, then in order to find the resultant of these two vectors, of course, we can use parallelogram law of vector addition. But by triangle law of vector addition also, we can find the resultant of these two vectors. How? In order to find the resultant of these two vectors by triangle law of vector addition, you take the two vectors or two forces acts on the particle simultaneously as the adjacent sides of a triangle taken in order. Suppose this is a OA. Okay, here you see. First you take the given vector OA bar. OA bar is equal to, of course, P bar. OA is equal to P bar. OA bar is equal to P bar. So whatever the length of this vector, I have taken the same length. The direction is also same. That's why it is the equal vector of this one. That means it is P bar. No? So resultant of these two vectors means P bar plus Q bar is the resultant of those two vectors. No? Actually, resultant of these two vectors, resultant of any number of vectors is equal to R bar is equal to vector sum of the given vectors. So this is the resultant of two vectors. Suppose if any other vector is also there, then the vector sum of all the vectors gives the resultant of all the vectors. Okay. Now, here you take this q bar vector at this position. Just you slide the q bar vector like this so that without changing the direction, you slide this vector q bar parallel to itself like this. Then when you slide this vector parallel to itself up to this point A, then you will get that vector like this. This is q bar. You see q bar here, whatever the length of this vector, this length is also same. Okay, so magnitude is same. These two are parallel. That's why direction is also same. If it is q bar, it is q bar. Okay. Now, suppose if you join this this initial point of p bar and final point of q bar here, you see. So this is one triangle actually. This is the triangle. The two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously are represented as the adjacent sides of a triangle taken in order. Order means first vector in this direction, second vector starts from this end in this direction. That means taken in order. And these two vectors are represented by the two adjacent sides of a triangle taken in order both in magnitude and direction. Means whatever the magnitude of p bar, this length of the triangle represents the magnitude equal to the magnitude of p bar. This length also equal to magnitude of q bar. And direction, q bar makes an angle theta with p bar. That's why here this angle must be angle between p bar and q bar is equal to theta. And moreover, one more point we have to remember. To find the angle between two vectors, any two vectors, the two vectors must be imagined as the coinitial vectors. Coinitial vectors means when the initial points of the two vectors are coincident. You see here. Suppose this is one vector p bar, this is another vector q bar. Okay. Then what is the angle between p bar and q bar means? You take the p bar q bar such that the initial points of the two vectors must be coincident. You see the initial point of p bar is here, initial point of q bar is also here. Now the angle between these two is this one. Suppose if p bar is like this and q bar is like this. This angle is theta. So in this case, what is the angle between the two vectors? Means theta is not the angle between the two vectors, because the initial point of this vector is here, initial point of this vector is here. They are not coincident. That's why here you produce this vector in this direction. Now the length of this vector and this vector both are same, and direction is also same. That's why this is the equal vector of q bar. Now it is q bar. Okay. Now the initial vector of this q bar here, initial point of q bar and initial point of q bar both are coincident. Angle between these two means this one. That is the angle between the two vectors. So here, if it is theta, this is equal to 180 minus theta. So 180 minus theta is the angle between two vectors p bar and p bar here. So to find the angle between any two vectors, those two vectors you must imagine as the coinitial vectors. you write the two vectors as the coinitial vectors, and then only you take the angle between the two vectors. That is the angle between the two vectors. Okay. Elements of vectors are vectors, both are same. Venkat Sri Sai. Elements of vectors are vectors, both are same. Okay. Okay. Now, so you see, suppose if you extend this p bar in this direction, then p bar and q bar, angle between them is theta. Okay. In this way, we have to take. Now, in order to find the resultant of any two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, we have to take the two vectors p bar and q bar as the adjacent sides of a triangle taken in order, not drawn from the same point. Same point draw చేటువంటి ఇక్కడ ఇట్లా తీసుకుంటే same point. But these two vectors are taken as the adjacent sides of a triangle. Then the closing side of the third side of the triangle taken in reverse order. Order అంటే ఇటువైపు తీసుకున్న ఇక్కడ నుంచి వెక్టర్ ఇటువైపు తీసుకున్న ఇంకో థర్డ్ సైడ్ ఇటువైపు తీసుకోవాలి. ఆర్డర్ అంటే రివర్స్ ఆర్డర్ అంటే ఇటువైపు తీసుకోవాలి. So the third side of the triangle taken in reverse order gives the resultant of these two vectors r bar. You see, r bar is equal, this vector is equal to this plus this we can write now, because according to vector addition, q bar, initial point of q bar, final point of p bar coincide. That's why q bar can be added to p bar. Then when you add q bar to p bar, the resultant is obtained by joining the initial point of p bar and final point of q bar. Means this one, you know, that's why r bar is equal to p bar plus q bar. R bar is equal to p bar plus q bar. Okay. Okay, now actually it is in third chapter. It is in motion of a body in a plane. This vector chapter is there. In our material, it is in motion of a body in a plane. In that chapter, this topic is there. Okay, so you see in that chapter only you see this topic. That's all. Okay, right. Here it is just like similar to parallelogram law of vector addition. No? Because in case of parallelogram law of vector addition, we draw a perpendicular line onto this OA line extended, and by here this magnitude of this one means it is the right angle triangle. Then by applying the Pythagoras principle, this square is equal to this square is equal to this square plus this square. By that we derive the formula for magnitude of the resultant as square root of p square plus q square plus 2pq cos theta. Here also we can derive like that only. And here the resultant vector makes an angle alpha with p bar. The resultant of these two vectors is r bar, which makes an angle alpha with p bar. Then tan alpha is equal to, already we derived in parallelogram. Here also same. Q sin alpha, tan alpha is equal to q sin theta by p plus q cos theta. Suppose the angle made by the resultant vector with q bar is alpha, then here we have write here in this formula angle made by the resultant vector with p. If it made with q, then p sin theta by q plus p cos theta we have write like that. Okay, this is the magnitude of the resultant and direction of the resultant vector by triangle of vector addition. So in this, note points. Note 1. Suppose three vectors acts on a particle simultaneously. It is one vector a bar. Here it is another vector b bar. It is another vector say c bar. Okay, when three vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, keeps the particle in equilibrium. Suppose these are the three forces acts on the particle simultaneously, keeps the particle in equilibrium. Then the three vectors can be represented as, or these three forces can be represented as the adjacent such a triangle is taken in order both in magnitude as well as direction. Okay, you see here this vector A bar is represented like this. This vector A bar is represented like this. Next, from this B bar is in this direction. Same, parallel to this one, you draw a line here. So B bar is in this direction. B bar is in this direction. Okay, next. B bar is in this direction. Okay, next. C bar. C bar is in this direction. It is C bar. So C bar is like this. Okay. C bar here, this side is parallel to C bar, this is parallel to A bar, this is parallel to B bar. So when three vectors acts on a particle simultaneously are represented both in magnitude and direction by the three sides of a triangle taken in order, then we can represent like this. So in this case, A bar plus B bar plus C bar is equal to 0. No? A bar plus B bar. Actually, A bar plus B bar is equal to this vector, resultant vector R bar. But R bar is in this direction, C bar is in opposite direction. That's why you reverse the C bar. So if it is C bar in this direction, then minus C bar in this direction. No? So A bar plus B bar is equal to minus C bar. Implies A bar plus B bar plus C bar is equal to 0 vector. So when three vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, keeps the particle in equilibrium, then the vector sum of all the forces or vectors is equal to 0. When three forces acts on a particle, keeps it in equilibrium. Keeps it in equilibrium. Then vector sum of three forces or vector sum of three vectors acts on a particle is equal to 0 vector. It's a very, very important point. Vector sum of all the vectors is equal to 0 vector. It is the case whenever the particle is under equilibrium. Okay, whatever the number of forces, any number of forces when act on a particle keeps the particle in equilibrium, then vector sum of all the vectors is equal to 0. Vector sum of all the vectors is equal to 0. Okay, next. One more example here. Second one. Suppose there is a simple pendulum. There is a simple pendulum. There is a simple pendulum. Simple pendulum means, suppose you take a small sphere. You take a C bar is in this direction. No? Reverse this C bar. In this direction, it is equal to minus C bar. No? Actually, the resultant of two vectors, A bar plus B bar is equal to R bar. R bar means in this direction. That R bar is equal to, as the C bar in this direction, reverse the direction, then it becomes minus C bar. That's why R bar is equal to minus C bar. So A bar plus B bar is equal to R bar, which is equal to minus C bar. Or A bar plus B bar plus C bar is equal to 0 vector. No? Okay, Vanchi. Okay. Right. Next, simple pendulum. Suppose you take a small sphere and suspend by means of a light inextensible string on the rigid support. Then that arrangement is called the simple pendulum. ఒక లైట్ స్ట్రింగ్ తోటి ఒక స్మాల్ స్పిన్ ఇట్లా సస్పెండ్ చేస్తే, కొంత మాస్ ఒక స్పిన్ సస్పెండ్ చేస్తే, హెవీ పాయింట్ మాస్ అంటే సైజ్ షుడ్ బి వెరీ స్మాల్ బట్ మాస్ మస్ట్ బి వెరీ హై. Then that is called heavy point mass. When a heavy point mass is suspended by means of a light inextensible string. Light inextensible string. Okay. Yeah. In clocks also we use the simple pendulum to note the time. Okay. So here this arrangement is called simple pendulum. Here this is called, this sphere suspended by means of a string is called bob. Bob of the sphere. Bob of the pendulum. So you apply the horizontal force on the bob of the pendulum. What happens when you apply the horizontal force on the bob of the pendulum in this direction? Suppose if you pull this bob of the pendulum towards right by applying some constant force here, then the bob of the pendulum displaces like this, so that the string comes to this position. Now, when horizontal force is applied on the bob in this direction, then the bob comes to equilibrium at this position. Suppose bob మీద horizontal force apply చేసి ఇటువైపు పుల్ చేసాం అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు the bob displaces through certain angle from vertical and it is under equilibrium at certain position. Say, whenever the bob is under equilibrium, at the time angle made by this simple pendulum or this string or this bob which vertical is say theta. At the time whenever the bob is under equilibrium, what are the forces acts on the bob? What are the forces acts on the bob? Tell me. One, very good. One, weight acts on the bob vertically downwards direction, mg. Next, horizontal force capital acts in this direction. Next, tension, yeah, because the resultant of F and this weight mg acts in between these two somewhere in this direction. The resultant of these two acts on the bob of the pendulum in this direction. That's why the bob try to move in this direction, but at the same time the string pulls the bob in this direction with certain force called tension. The force with which the string pulls the bob in this direction towards the point of suspension, that force is called the tensioner string. Now, here these are the three forces acts on the bob in different directions, keeps the bob in equilibrium. Then how we can write the relation among T, F and mg in vector form? Here W is the weight. W is the weight. So how we can write the relation among those three? How we can write? When three forces acts on a bob simultaneously in different directions, all these are coplanar because all these forces lies in the plane. That's why they are coplanar forces, non-collinear forces. Okay, three non-collinear coplanar forces acts on the bob simultaneously in different directions, keeps the bob in this bob of the pendulum in equilibrium. Then what is the relation among them? Means the vector sum of these three forces is equal to 0. No, according to the triangle law, can be explained said in another way also. When three vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, keeps the particle in equilibrium, then the three vectors can be represented as the adjacent sides of a triangle taken in order. When we take like that, then we got this relation: a bar plus b bar plus c bar equal 0. Similarly, here also, as the three forces keeps the bob in equilibrium, the vector sum of all the forces, tension force, horizontal force, and weight is equal to mg. That is equal to vector sum of all the forces acts on the bob. That is equal to 0 vector. It is the vector relation among the three forces. Okay. Next, whenever the three forces acts on a bob, keeps the bob in equilibrium along any direction at force is 0. Now, along any direction at force is 0. Along any direction net force is 0. Okay, that's why here along x-axis net force 0, along y-axis also net force 0. Resolve these forces into components along x and y-axis. Already F and mg both are along x-axis and along y-axis, but tension is in between the x and y-axis. So we have to resolve this tension. It is horizontal and it is vertical. If it is theta, this is theta. Then the component of the tension along vertical direction is as this is the component adjacent to angle. This component is equal to t cos theta, and this component is equal to t sin theta. When you imagine the components of this, when you have taken the concept the components of this tension, you forget this tension because we have taken the components of this one. Okay, now as the bob is under equilibrium, along any direction net force is 0. So along x-axis net force is 0. So along x-axis, sum of the force acts on the bob in one direction is equal to sum of the forces in opposite direction. Here only F force acts towards right, T sin theta acts towards left. That's why F is equal to T sin theta, or T sin theta is equal to F. Under equilibrium, along along x-axis net force is equal to 0. Along x-axis, net force along x-axis sigma fx is equal to 0. Okay, sigma fx equal to 0 means on the bob along x-axis towards right, the force axis F, towards left T sin theta acts. That's why T sin theta is equal to F, we can write now. T sin theta is equal to F. T sin theta is equal to F. This is equation 2. Next, along y-axis, as it is on our equilibrium, along y-axis net force 0. So along y-axis, in vertical upward direction, T cos theta acts in vertical upward direction, and along vertically downward direction, weight mg acts. This is 3. 2 by 3 gives what? 2 by 3. Divide these two. Sin theta by cos theta. T cancel. Sin theta by cos theta means tan theta is equal to F by mg. Or F is equal to mg tan theta. So this is the, whenever the three vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, then here the horizontal component of the horizontal force applied on the bob is equal to mg tan theta, where theta is the angle made by the pendulum with vertical. Okay, here you see in this formula from 2 from 2 you see from 2 sin theta is equal to F by, okay, here we can apply the Lami's theorem also. Okay, we can apply the Lami's theorem also. Already, when three vectors acts on a particle in different directions, keeps the particle in equilibrium, then we can apply the Lami's theorem also. How we can apply the Lami's theorem? Here we see. Suppose this is the bob of the pendulum. Free body diagram. Free body diagram of bob. Free body diagram ante bob, whatever the size of the bob, that can be represented with a point mass, point size. దానికి ఫ్రీ బాడీ డయాగ్రామ్ అంటాం. అయితే ఈ పాయింట్ సైజ్ మీద అంటే ఈ బాబ్ మీద ఏ ఫోర్స్ అయితే పనిచేస్తున్నాయో, వెన్ యూ రిప్రజెంట్ దేర్ ఫోర్సెస్, దోస్ ఫోర్సెస్ ఇన్ ఆల్ డైరెక్షన్స్, దెన్ దట్ ఇస్ కాల్డ్ ఫ్రీ బాడీ డయాగ్రామ్ ఆఫ్ ది బాబ్. ఫ్రీ బాడీ డయాగ్రామ్ ఆఫ్ ది బాబ్ ఇది కన్సిడర్ చేస్తే దాని మీద వెయిట్ mg వెర్టికల్లీ డౌన్వర్డ్ డైరెక్షన్ పనిచేస్తా ఉంది, హారిజాంటల్ ఫోర్స్ క్యాపిటల్ F ఇటువైపు పనిచేస్తా ఉంది, తర్వాత ఇటువైపు టెన్షన్ ఉందిగా, టెన్షన్ T ఇటువైపు పనిచేస్తా ఉంది, టెన్షన్ T. ఇక్కడ యాంగిల్ థీటా అయితే, ఇది థీటా అయితే డెఫినెట్ గా ఈ యాంగిల్ థీటా కదా. Okay, this angle here you see, దీన్ని ఇటువైపు ఎక్స్టెండ్ చేస్తే ఈ యాంగిల్ థీటా. మరి వాట్ అబౌట్, నో డౌట్ దిస్ ఇస్ 90, ఈ యాంగిల్ 90, ఇక్కడ యాంగిల్ థీటా, ఈ యాంగిల్ థీటా ఉందిగా, ఇది థీటా కదా. ఎటువంటి వెర్టికల్ కి ఈ టెన్షన్ డైరెక్షన్ కి మధ్య యాంగిల్ థీటా, ఇది 90, because this is horizontal, this is vertical. 90 plus theta is the angle between T and F, no? So between T and F angle is 90 plus theta. Okay, what about this angle? If you know the angles among them, we can apply the Lami's theorem. Okay, tell me, what is the angle between these two? Here this is 180, this is theta, no? This is theta, because it is vertical and it is string, angle between them is theta, so this is theta. So this is 180 minus theta, no? 180 minus theta. So three vectors or three forces acts on a particle simultaneously in different directions with angles between them is 180 minus theta, 90, and it is 90 plus theta. It is 90 plus theta. Then according to Lami's theorem, or according to sine rule, tell me how we can write. According to Lami's theorem, what I said, a by sin a, b by sin b, c by sin c is equal to 0, no? A by sin a means this side. Of course, you represent, here we say, you represent these three forces as adjacent sides of a triangle here. So F is in this direction, okay, weight in this direction, weight W is equal to mg, that is in this direction, and tension is in this direction. Okay, now here you see angle between, okay, I drawn the same. Here these three forces are represented as the adjacent sides of a triangle taken in order. You see F in this direction, from that weight mg acts in this direction, from this tension in this direction. All here, whatever the angle between F and T, here also same, because Angle between F and T means you see T in this direction, F in this direction. Angle between them is this is 90 plus theta. This is 90 plus theta. 90 plus theta. Then what about this angle? If it is 90 plus theta, what about this angle? It is totally 180. From 180, subtract this one. 180 minus of 90 plus theta means 90 minus theta, no? So it is 90 minus theta. Of course, it is 90. What about this angle? Angle between weight and tension. Tension in this direction, no? Angle between weight and tension is 180 minus theta. So here, tension is in this direction. You see, here this is 180 minus theta. Because weight in this direction, tension in this direction. This is 180 minus theta. If it is 180 minus theta, what about this angle? From 180, we subtract this angle. 180 minus of this one means theta only. Or if it is 90, it is 90 minus theta. Obviously, it is theta, no? That's all. Now you apply the triangle. Sorry, Lami's theorem. According to Lami's theorem, this side is F. F by sine of opposite angle theta, sin theta. So F by sin theta, we can write, is equal to, you take this side. This side is equal to weight mg. Mg by opposite sine of opposite angle. On this side, opposite angle 90 minus theta. That's why sine 90 minus theta is equal to, here it is tension T by sine of opposite angle means sine 90. Because for this side, opposite angle is this one. So sine 90. So A by sine A, B by sine B, C by sine C. Now, this is the according to Lami's theorem I wrote. I think this is very simple method because here we have to resolve the tension to components and we have to make them equal along x-axis, along y-axis. Then we have to divide the two equations. Then I got F is equal to mg tan theta. Directly here we will get C. You see by Lami's theorem simply F is equal from this F is equal to mg into, you do cross multiplication, sin theta by sin 90 minus theta means you have cos theta only now. Therefore, F is equal to mg into sin theta by cos theta means tan theta. We can write. Okay, next. And one more relation you see. Here it is the right angle triangle. It is the hypotenuse. You apply the Pythagoras principle. P square is equal to F square plus mg square. No? P square is equal to F square plus mg whole square. This is a relation among the three forces. We can write this relation also. So it is about it is about the simple pendulum. By triangle law, we can find the horizontal force required. Horizontal force required to displace the bob of the pendulum through angle theta with the vertical. And what applies ante, what is the horizontal force required to pull the bob aside through an angle theta from vertical? అంటే వెర్టికల్ తో థీటా యాంగిల్ చేసేట్టుగా m మాస్ గల బాబుని పుల్ చేయాలంటే ఎంత ఫోర్స్ అప్లై చేయాలి? హారిజాంటల్ ఫోర్స్ అంటే mg tan theta. దట్ ఇస్ ద ఫార్ములా. అండ్ వాట్ ఇస్ ద టెన్షన్? F mg అంటే టెన్షన్ క్యాలిక్యులేట్ చేస్తే ఈ ఫార్ములా నుంచి టెన్షన్ T is equal to square root of r tension T is equal to square root of F square plus mg whole square. F square plus mg whole square. Okay, it is the simple pendulum. Next, polygon law of vector addition. Polygon law of vector addition. So far we have discussed when two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, board is board blur. Is board is blur to you? Or is it okay? I think I am here. It is very clear to me because already I am displaying the board here in the laptop. It is, seems to be clear only. That's why I am asking. Okay, except to few means there may be technical problem. Like for except for few people, if it is not clear means technical problem there only, but not here. Suppose if any problem is here, everyone is getting problem. Everyone will be having problem, but most of the students are responding. It is properly. Of course, I don't say it is crystal clear. It is to some extent it is okay. Okay, so remaining people who are not getting video clearly, check your system, adjust your system. Okay, right. Next, polygon law of vector addition. So far we have discussed when two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously. In order to find the resultant of those two vectors, we use it parallelogram law of vector addition, triangle law of vector addition, like that. Suppose if more than two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, more than two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously. Okay, in that case, in order to find the resultant of all the vectors, how we can find? So whenever more than two vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, in order to find the resultant of all the vectors, we use the polygon law of vector addition. Whenever the number of vectors or number of forces acts on a particle in different directions, then you take the polygon. Polygon means number of sides. Hexagon means 6 sides. Polygon means triangle means 3 sides. Polygon means number of sides. Hexagon means 6 sides. Okay. So here, suppose on a particle there are different forces. A acts in this direction. Okay. Next, B acts in this direction. C acts in this direction. B bar, C bar. Okay. D acts in this direction. E bar acts in this direction. F bar acts in this direction, and G bar acts in this direction. In this way, number of vectors acts on a particle simultaneously in different directions. In order to find the resultant of all these forces, all these are given in vector form. Vector form means already I said the given vector is in vector form means that vector is in terms of unit vectors I cap, j cap, k cap, like that. Okay, that's why if all the vectors are in vector form, in order to find the resultant of all these vectors, according to polygon law of vector addition, you take all these vectors, you represent all these vectors as the adjacent sides of a polygon taken in order. Polygon means number of sides. So, okay, first I will take the, you see, first vector a bar. I will represent the first vector a bar as the side of a polygon. This is one side of a polygon. A bar is represented like this. A bar is represented both in magnitude and direction by the one side of the polygon. Magnitude, here the side of the polygon represents the magnitude and direction of this vector a bar, means the length of the side is equal to this one and direction is parallel to this one. Then we can say this side of the polygon is represented with a bar both in magnitude and direction. Next, from this point, G bar is in this direction. Here, suppose here the angle is 30 degree. Here also with a bar, by making 30 degree only you take G bar. By making 30 degree only you take the G bar there, G bar vector. So parallel to this side G bar, you take the vector. It is G bar. From this G bar, by making some angle B bar is there. So you take B bar parallel to B bar, you draw a vector here. Parallel to B bar, you draw a vector. It is B bar. From this B bar, next another vector. C bar is horizontal. So from this B bar, you take another side horizontal direction, which is represented with C bar. C bar నుంచి D bar. C bar ఎంత యాంగిల్ చేస్తూ D bar లో ఆ డైరెక్షన్ లో దీనికి parallel గా ఇక్కడ D bar వెక్టర్ నోట్ చేయండి. So D bar, it is D bar. Next, from this E bar is vertically downwards. So E bar is vertically downwards. Next, here from this F bar is in this direction. F bar is in this direction. It is D bar. It is D bar. It is E bar. Okay. Next, F bar is in this direction. F bar in this direction. Suppose this is a bar. It is a bar. Okay, it is F bar. Okay. Now, here this is the polygon of number of sides. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Here it is the polygon of number of sides. That all vectors acts on a particle simultaneously are represented as the adjacent sides of a triangle, adjacent sides of a polygon taken in order, both in magnitude and direction. These sides are represented with given vector both in magnitude and direction, means whatever the direction of this one, G bar is also having same direction. Same direction means magnitude is same. With A bar, if it makes the angle 30 degree, here also it makes 30 degree. If it is 45, here also it makes 45. Like that, all the sides are taken. Then the closing side of the polygon means this one, because here all the forces are represented as the adjacent sides of a polygon taken in order up to this. Here this is the closing side. Closing side of the polygon taken in reverse order gives the resultant of all these vectors. So here F bar can be added to E bar to be to D bar to C bar to D bar, B bar to G bar to A bar we can add, because initial point of D bar coincide with final point of C bar. So we can add D to C. Similarly, C to B, B to G, B to A, like that. Okay. Therefore, resultant vector of all this is equal to A bar plus G bar plus B bar plus C bar plus D bar plus E bar plus F bar. It is the resultant of all the vectors. This is given by the closing side of the polygon taken in reverse order that gives the resultant of all these vectors. This is the resultant of all those vectors. Okay. Suppose this is one. This is polygon law of vectorization. So according to polygon law of vectorization, when number of vectors acts on a particle simultaneously, keeps simultaneously in different directions, which all lies in a plane. Of course, may not be in a plane. So when number of vectors acts on a particle simultaneously in different directions, then the resultant of all those vectors can be obtained by taking all the vectors as the adjacent sides of a polygon taken in order. Polygon taken in order both in magnitude and direction. It is applicable for coplanar forces only. This is applicable for coplanar only. For coplanar only, we can write like this. So when number of non-collinear coplanar forces acts on a particle simultaneously, in order to obtain the resultant of all the vectors, we have to represent all the vectors as the adjacent sides of a triangle polygon taken in order both in magnitude and direction. Then the closing side of the polygon taken in reverse order gives the resultant of all those vectors. F dash bar, F dash, F dash, F bar it is. F dash or F bar, we can write F bar, not F dash, F bar, not F dash. It is F bar. Okay. So in this way, by polygon law of vector addition, we can have the resultant of all the any number of vectors. But all are coplanar vectors. That is important. All are coplanar vectors. A, B, C, D, all these are coplanar vectors. That is important. All are coplanar vectors. What is the minimum number of non-collinear, non-coplanar forces required to keep the body in equilibrium? What is the minimum number of non-coplanar, non-collinear vectors required to keep the body in equilibrium? No, listen carefully. What is the minimum number of non-collinear coplanar forces required to keep the body in equilibrium? Is 3. మినిమం నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ నాన్ కోలినియర్ నాన్ కోప్లెనార్ ఫోర్సెస్ అంటే అన్ని ఫోర్సెస్ ఒకే ప్లేన్ లో ఉండవు. Minimum number of non-collinear, non-coplanar forces required to keep the body in equilibrium is 4. Very good, Vishnu. 4. So note 1. Minimum number of non-collinear coplanar forces required to keep the body in equilibrium is 3. Next, minimum number of non-collinear, non-coplanar forces required to keep the body in equilibrium is 4. Third one, minimum number of collinear forces required to keep the body in equilibrium is minimum number of collinear forces required to keep the body in equilibrium. Collinear means both must be lie on same line. Same line వెంబడి ఉండి ఆ బాడీ మీద ఒక ఫోర్స్ ఇటువైపు ఇంకో ఫోర్స్ ఇటువైపు ఇది ఒక 2 న్యూటన్ ఇది ఒక 2 న్యూటన్ వర్క్ చేస్తుంది అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు నెట్ ఫోర్స్ జీరోనే కదా, ఈక్విలిబ్రియం లో ఉన్నట్లే కదా. కాబట్టి మినిమం నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ collinear forces required to keep the body in equilibrium is 2. 2 means definitely those must be equal. Minimum number of collinear forces but unequal force. Minimum number of collinear unequal forces required to keep the body in equilibrium is unequal ఉండాలి, అంటే magnitudes equal గా ఉండకూడదు. అప్పుడు డెఫినెట్ గా 3. ఓకే, సో దిస్ పాయింట్ ఇస్ వెరీ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. నెక్స్ట్, ఓకే, థర్డ్ వన్, రెగ్యులర్ హెక్సాగన్. Suppose 6 equal forces acts on a particle simultaneously. Keeps the particle in equilibrium or not? Suppose there are n not regular hexagon. You say first we will discuss the general case. Suppose n equal forces are there. N equal forces means coplanar. These are the coplanar forces. N equal coplanar forces to keep the body in equilibrium. The condition is to keep the n equal coplanar equal forces acts on a particle to keep the body in equilibrium. The condition is, you see, suppose 3 equal forces are there. You see, whenever 3 equal forces acts on the body, for example I am telling, it is F. These are the 3 equal coplanar forces. Okay, to keep the body in equilibrium, definitely the resultant of these two must be equal to F and exactly opposite to each other. ఈ రెండింటికి రిజల్టెంట్ Fi ఆపోజిట్ గా ఉంది అనుకోండి, అప్పుడు ఇది Fi, ఈ రెండింటికి రిజల్టెంట్ F కాబట్టి just you forget these two. So on this point, this F acts in this direction, this F acts in this direction, exactly opposite. So these two cancel each other. So net force becomes 0. It is possible whenever all these 3 forces are symmetric about this point. And ఇక్కడ 3 forces కాబట్టి 360 degree by three forces and 120. So whenever the angle between these any two adjacent forces is equal to 120, in that case, whenever the angle between any two adjacent forces is equal to 120, in such case, the net force acts on the body becomes zero, because whenever the angle between any two adjacent forces is 120 here, you see this is also 120. Then what is the resultant of these two forces? If the angle between them is 120, the resultant of these two forces R is equal to square root of f square plus f square plus 2 into f into cos 120. Cos 120 means minus half. So minus half, this 2 cancel, minus you will get. Okay, then square root of f square plus 2 into f square into cos 120 minus half. 2 to cancel. So minus into minus f square plus f square cancel. Square root of f square means f. So resultant is equal to f only, no? So whenever the two forces having same magnitude acts at an angle 120 degree, the resultant of these two is equal to f only. So when you consider the resultant of these two, you can forget this one. What is the angle made by this resultant vector with any one of the forces? As these two forces are equal in magnitude, the resultant of these two forces is along the angular bisector. Because angle made by this resultant force, it is and with this both are same. Alpha is equal to beta when these two forces are equal. Okay, that's why it is 60 degree. It is 60, it is 120. Means totally 180, no? 180 means the resultant of these two is exactly opposite to this one. These two cancel as they are opposite, then net force becomes zero. That means three coplanar equal forces required to keep the body in equilibrium if all forces are equal. Okay, similarly, suppose there are here, what is the condition means? Whenever the three coplanar equal forces keep the body in equilibrium, then angle between any two adjacent forces must be equal to, you see, three forces are there by 3. 360 by 3 means 120. So angle between any two adjacent forces is 120 now. As it follows the condition, then these three forces keep the body in equilibrium. Suppose if n forces are there by n. So when equal forces, when equal forces are coplanar, acts on a particle simultaneously, keeps the particle in equilibrium. It is possible when angle between any two adjacent forces is equal to 360 degree by n, where theta is the angle between any two adjacent forces. Adjacent forces. That is important. Adjacent forces. Okay, next, it is very important formula. Is the given forces follow this condition or not? We have to check. Okay, suppose here five equal and coplanar forces. 5 equal and coplanar forces keep acts on a particle simultaneously. Acts on a particle simultaneously means at a time. Simultaneously. Then the resultant force on the particle. The resultant force on particle is dash. Is the 5 equal forces, 5 equal coplanar forces acts on a particle, keeps the particle in equilibrium. Here in brackets, angle between any two adjacent forces. Angle between any two adjacent forces is 60 degree given. Here any angle between the adjacent forces is 60 degree, not any two, but any angle between adjacent forces. Angle between adjacent forces is 60. Angle between adjacent forces is 60. That is given. Angle between adjacent forces is 60. Now tell me, here 5 equal and coplanar forces when acts on a particle simultaneously keeps the particle in equilibrium or not? To keep the particles in equilibrium, angle between any two adjacent forces must be 360 by, as 5 forces are there, 5. 360 by 5 means 72 degree. That means whenever the angle between any two adjacent forces, equal forces, is 72 degree, then that 5 forces keep the particle in equilibrium, but 72 degree is not there. 60 degree only there. 60 degree only there. How we can represent this one? You see, that means one force is required. No? Here actually with this angle 60 degree, how many forces are required? With 60 with 60 degree between two forces, number of forces required to keep the particle in equilibrium. To keep the particle in equilibrium is how much? Equilibrium is n is equal to, we can write 360 degree by theta. No, which one? ఇక్కడ 60 డిగ్రీ అడ్జసెంట్ ఫోర్సెస్ మీద యాంగిల్ 60 డిగ్రీ ఉండేట్లుగా మన ఈక్వల్ ఫోర్సెస్ ని తీసుకున్నప్పుడు కోప్లానార్ ఫోర్సెస్ ని నంబర్ ఆఫ్ ఫోర్సెస్ రిక్వైర్డ్ టు కీప్ ద బాడీ ఇన్ ఈక్విలిబ్రియం అంటే n is equal to 360 by theta రాయొచ్చు కదా. సో దిస్ is equal to 360 by 60. సో therefore n is equal to 6. 6 forces are required but only 5. That's why definitely the particle cannot be under equilibrium. The particle will not be under equilibrium. In this case, what is the net force? In this case, what is the net force? So, how many forces are required to keep the body in equilibrium? How many forces are required? 5 are given, 6 is required. Only one force is left over. That one force is the net force. One force is the net force. Therefore, additional forces required to keep in equilibrium is 6 minus 5, that is equal to 1. Therefore, net force is equal to net force F net force is equal to resultant of only one force, means F only. Net force is equal to F. Suppose only 4 forces are given. If 4 forces are given, if 4 forces are given, then what is the net force? Suppose 6 forces kavali, but 4 forces are only given. 4 forces are given which are coplanar and equal forces. Angle between adjacent forces is 60 degree. Angle between adjacent forces is 60 degree. Then what is the net force they ask? So, but 6 forces are required to keep the body in equilibrium with 60 degree between adjacent forces. But only 4 forces are used. So, what is the additional forces required to keep the body in equilibrium? 6 minus 4. So, additional force, number of additional forces required. Number of additional forces required. Delta n is equal to 6 minus 4. That is equal to 2 forces. 2 forces are required. Okay, our 2 forces eట్లా ఉంటాయి మరి? One of the forces is this one. Another force, angle between any two adjacent forces is 60. No, that's why this must be 60. In this way, you take the another force. Yeah. The resultant of these two is the net force acts on the particle. The resultant of those two is the net force acts on the particle. What is the resultant of these two? Net force is equal to, net force acts on the particle is equal to square root of f square plus f square plus 2f into cos, angle between these two forces is 60 degree, cos 60. That is equal to 1 by 2. 1 by 2, 2 cancel. So root 3f. Root 3f. So net force of these 4 forces is equal to root 3f. Whatever the additional forces required to keep the body in equilibrium, their resultant is the net force of these 4. Their resultant is the net force of these 4. Okay, root 3f is the net force. It is very, very important point. Suppose 11 forces are required. 11 coplanar equal forces are acting on the particle at an angle 30 degree between 30 degree between the two adjacent forces. Then what is the net force? Tell me. 11 equal and coplanar forces acts on a particle simultaneously in different directions so that angle between adjacent forces is equal to 30 degree. What is the net force acts on the particle? Very good. F. 1 into F means F only, no? F. Because with the 30 degree between the adjacent forces, number of forces required is equal to 360 by 30. That means 12 forces are required. Equal forces are required. But only 11 is there. So what is the additional forces required to keep in equilibrium? 12 minus 11 means only one force. One force is the resultant force. That's all. One force is the resultant force. Okay. Next. Rotation of a vector about its initial point or about its origin. Initial point or origin. So when the given vector is rotating about its origin, suppose here one vector is like this. Here it is x-axis, it is y-axis. It is origin, it is y-axis. Here it is one vector given. It is one vector given. Angle made by this vector with horizontal say theta 1, theta 1. Then what about this vector a bar? Vector a bar is equal to, generally vector a bar is equal to x component of vector into I cap plus y component of vector into j cap. What is the x component of this vector? Tell me. Magnitude of a bar is equal to a. Then the component along x-axis means it is the component adjacent to angle. That's why it is a cos theta 1. No? That's why a cos theta 1. Because magnitude of this vector is a. A component along x-axis a cos theta 1 and y-axis is a sin theta 1. So a cos theta 1 is x into I cap plus ay means a sin theta 1 into j cap. So this is the given vector a bar. That is equation 1. Suppose if this vector is rotated about its origin, the vector ne about the origin itla turn chesam. Let it might be turn chesam. Itla turn chesam. It is turned through certain angle. It is turned through certain angle, say theta naught. So that the angle made by this new vector, angle here, whenever this vector is turned through certain angle, so that the angle made by this position, this vector with x-axis is theta 2. Okay, whenever the given vector is rotated like this, is there any change in the magnitude of the vector? ఇక్కడ ఎంత లెంత్ ఉందో ఇది కూడా అదే లెంత్, సేమ్ లెంత్. కాబట్టి magnitude of vector does not change. So but direction changes. When the magnitude of the vector does not change but direction changes, even then vector is said to be changed. So ఈ vector a dash bar అనుకోండి, a dash bar. So magnitude of this a dash bar is equal to a itself. Okay, therefore the new vector a dash bar is equal to, tell me, a dash bar ni vector form lo rayali and magnitude idi. The x component of this new vector in this direction along x axis a cos theta 2, no, a cos theta 2 into I cap plus y component is a sin theta 2, a sin theta 2 into j cap. So from this what you understood? From this what you understood? When the given vector is turned about this origin or about its initial point, the magnitude does not change, but as the direction changes, the vector is said to be changed. Initially a bar undi, a dash bar ayindi. Direction change ayindante vector change ayintle kada. So when the given vector is turned about its origin or initial point or about its tail point, then as the even though magnitude does not alter, because of changes in its direction, the vector is said to be changed. The vector is said to be changed. Okay, but magnitude does not change. What about the components of that vector? When the vector is turned about its tail or origin, then what about the components? You see, initially whenever vector is not turned, the components are a cos theta 1, a cos theta 2. Now components becomes a cos theta 2, a sin theta 2 means change, you know. So when vector is turned or rotated about its tail, about its tail or origin, comma, magnitude does not change. Magnitude does not change. But due to change of direction, due to change of direction, comma, the vector is said to be changed. Components of a vector also changes. Components of a vector also changes. It is very important point. Suppose when the vector is like this initially, when it is turned, suppose initially this vector is at an angle 60 degree with horizontal. When this vector is turned to 30 degree in anti-clockwise direction, initial గా 60 ఉంది, ఇప్పుడు 30 degree టర్న్ చేశాడు యాంటీ క్లాక్, అప్పుడు ఇటువైపు వస్తుంది, వెర్టికల్ గా వచ్చేస్తుంది కదా, మాగ్నిట్యూడ్ మారదు కానీ వెర్టికల్ డైరెక్షన్ లో వచ్చేస్తుంది. కాబట్టి ఇన్ దిస్ పొజిషన్ magnitude is a only, but it lies along vertical direction. That's why it can be represented as aj cap now directly. aj cap represent చేయొచ్చు కదా. అయితే ఇక్కడ initially what is the angle made by this vector with the horizontal, that is not given, but a bar is given in vector form like 2i cap plus 3j cap like that. Then we can find the angle made by this vector with the x-axis now. So this angle is known. Suppose if it is 60, if the given vector is turned in anti-clockwise direction through 30 degree angle, now the vector comes to the direction of the vector is along y-axis. In such case, magnitude does not change due to rotation, but direction becomes along y-axis. That's why aj cap is the new vector. Instead of a dash, we can write directly like this, aj cap. Of course, in this example, I am telling, not always. So this is one important point. Now we will do some problems related to this. Related to, here some problems we had to do.